Hey, hey, hello everybody. Hello, hello, hello. I hope all is well. Happy Monday, happy Monday. My glasses is all janky, so excuse me. But happy Monday, happy Monday. I hope you guys had a great weekend. I hope you all are on a great start to 2026. It has been busy, busy, busy for me, but I'm glad we're able to jump on for our next live, which is actually a part two. So I hope that you all got some good stuff from last week's session on strategic reflection. And today we're going to pick up where we left off. So I'm super excited. I'll give you guys some time to come in. As you're coming in, let me know where you're watching from, and let me know how you're doing. I would love to know if you are okay, how you're feeling today, and how your Monday has been. So definitely talk back to me. And what we'll do today, of course, we'll go into the new stuff, but I'll do a quick recap from last week just in case. And we will go from there. Okay, so strategic reflection. We're going to pick up where we left off, which we can go back. Let me pull it up here. So last week we talked about what strategic reflection is. So it's pausing long enough to learn, realign, and take action, regardless of the action being big or small, right? We also talked about what reflection is and what it is not. And then we talked through how we can ensure reflection is helpful. So we went through number one was stay in observation, not judgment. Two was knowing when reflection needs action versus when it doesn't. Three was asking yourself the right questions. Four was honoring your capacity. And then five was decide what comes next, right? That's when we talked about continued integration and actionable steps. So that was just a quick recap from last week. If you haven't watched last week's live, I always advise after you watch this one, make sure to go back and just kind of get the original content, because today we're going to talk about something totally new, right? So part one was we talked about the strategic reflection is how we make sure it's helpful. Today we're focusing on what that actually looks like in practice. So reflection supports your life instead of becoming just another thing to manage, okay? Hello, Spicy 101, welcome in. Welcome in, is it Recurrum? Hope I'm saying that right, welcome in. So I hope this is helpful, y'all. So when it comes to this week, what we're going to talk through is strategic reflection in practice. How do we reflect without overdoing it, without creating burnout, without, rumination, like really thinking about how we can do that within a practice without overdoing it. So there's a few things I have here. How do I reflect in a way that actually supports my life? Number one, by knowing when reflection is needed, okay? By knowing when reflection is needed. And I have a few examples here. So how do we know? One way is, or one thing you can think of when thinking about when to reflect is after you have regulated strong emotions, okay? So when it comes to strong emotions, sometimes we try to do reflection while we're already feeling or in the thing, right? And doing it after that, doing it after you've already regulated, it would make it be at a state where you have more clarity. Because when you're dysregulated, you're heightened, right? You're in a heightened state. Where the goal is more so survival. Your brain is in a mode of protection, right? And so that removes clarity, that removes rationality, it removes lucid thinking. And sometimes when we try to reflect on things, while we're already in a heightened state, that ends up being rumination, confusion, frustration, irritability, heightened anger. We end up in a worse state than when we started. So, ensuring that we do reflection after you have regulated yourself, right? You've done your deep breathing, you've done some self care, you've taken some time to rest, you've taken time to decompress. So that way you can then think with clarity instead of operating in a state of false urgency. Because when you're in a heightened state, that creates urgency, not just in your mind, but also in your body, right? Um, so let me just make sure I pull this up. Spicy, are you Muslim? No, I'm Christian. Thank you. Thanks, Garrett. Rage is definitely a big one. Okay, and then let me go ahead and okay. So when it comes to thinking about when you do this reflection, making sure that you do it after you have regulated those strong emotions is crucial and important. Other times when you can do strategic reflection is before major decisions, right? So reflect before you decide, so you're responding with clarity and not pressure. Sometimes when we are having major decisions happening, we feel like we have to make it in the moment. And taking the time to reflect beforehand gives you the chance to make a rational decision, right? So when you're, considering a new job, when when you're thinking about relationship changes, whether it be platonic or not platonic, or with family, making financial decisions, like ensuring to take a moment to pause, to reflect before making major decisions is crucial and important, right? So another time frame would be after or before major life events. Okay. So the end of the year, job change, marriage, divorce, new baby, medical scare, or a medical diagnosis, right? These are times when you have these transitional times, right? That you can use either before or after, or use reflection before or after these major life events. Because sometimes these major life events, there is no warning, right? There's no warning that these things may be happening. So understanding that before and after a major life event can be helpful when it comes to reflection, and a good time to really think about doing some reflection. Hi, 93 Love. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for watching from England. The channel is all about mindful living. So today we're talking about strategic reflection. This is actually part 2 from last week's live. Okay. All right. So when we're talking about by knowing, when it comes to reflection, knowing when to reflect after you have regulated strong emotions, before major decisions, after and before major life events, and then also at the end of a season or a cycle, right? So end of year, the holidays, summer months, leaning on natural pauses, right? Thinking about where you naturally have pauses throughout your life, throughout the year, and utilizing those times for reflection. So like I said, Christmas time, the holidays, even if we just have Martin Luther King's birthday coming up, that's another day where you may be off, that you may take some time to do some reflection. So thinking about the natural pauses and seasons and cycles throughout your life where you can put in some time to reflect. And then lastly here, when something keeps repeating, right? So repetition is often a signal that something more is happening. So if you're having a repeating emotion, you're feeling a burnout over and over again, the same emotion consistently, you're always feel angry on a consistent basis. You're running into similar conflicts on a consistent basis. So when you see patterns, when you see cycles, when you see repetition, and it's something that you're noticing, that's also a great time to maybe take some time to sit and reflect and see what's happening. Okay. So that's number 1 of how do I reflect in a way that actually supports my life One, by knowing when to reflect. Two, how often to reflect. Think of a cadence that works for you, that is proactive, not just reactive. Okay? So how often to reflect? Think of a cadence that's that's proactive, not just reactive. So micro reflections. Reflection don't have to take all day, y'all. It don't. I promise you it don't. It could be a 5 to 10 minute cadence that you do daily. It could be a 30-minute cadence that you do weekly. It could be an hour cadence that you do monthly. It just kind of depends on what's needed. So it doesn't have to be long. It can be micro reflections, or if you want to take a day to do reflection, you can. It's completely up to you. Weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly, however you want to do that. And then there's also just situational reflection. It's not necessarily something that's constant, but it goes off of, like we were talking before, major decisions, major life events, seasons and cycles, or things that are repeating. So that may be the one-offs, right? So just understanding that it can have its own cadence. I find reflecting to be quite overwhelming sometimes. I struggle to edit what to reflect on. I kind of just get carried away. I must practice more. Yeah, and this is really what we're talking about, right? Because there is a sense of reflection that is overdoing it. Sometimes we turn into overthinking, anxiety, rumination, and it's not helpful. So this is a way to kind of make it more strategic, so that way it's I don't want to say calculated, but it's more in a way to where it's intentional and it's purposeful. So I'm going to talk through some ways that you can do that. We'll get there in just a few. Um, but thank you for your comment. So that was number two. How often you reflect is important. Number three, how long reflection should last. So it may be shorter than people think. Like I said, it can be micro reflection. It doesn't have to be a long drawn out process. It could be a 10-15 minute type thing. Some people do gratitude journals where they do just one line, one thing I'm grateful for, one sentence, and you just write that and then you go about your way. It doesn't necessarily have to be a long journal entry. I think sometimes when we do reflection, especially if you're trying to do it on a daily basis, you feel like it has to be this long, drawn out thing. It doesn't. Just write down what you think. Just write down what you want and what you need to get out, and then go on about your business, right? It doesn't have to be a crazy, outlandish thing here. Welcome in. Is it Burrow? Welcome in. I don't know where that question is coming from. Okay, so that was number three. Number four, how to close reflection. And we talked about this a little bit last week, but that was when we were talking through reflection ending in two different ways. It should always end in two different ways, whether it be integration or a gentle next step, or your next step or action step, right? It's either going to end in one of those two ways. Integration is just basically meaning integrating it into your life, right? So whether it be just a matter of awareness, a matter of understanding, a mindset shift, a new perspective, right? It may not have you take any immediate action, but it may give you a new sense of understanding, or a new sense of being, or it may just give you insight for something in the future, not necessarily something that you need to take action on right now. Or it may require an action step where you have to do some goal setting. You have to take some time to really think about actions that you want to take and how you're going to take those actions. So ensuring that reflection has an ending is important, because then if it doesn't, then it continues to have these thoughts of rumination or overthinking or anxiety, or even leading into depression or sadness or other strong emotions. So giving reflection an ending is crucial and important. It needs a purpose and it needs an ending. Okay. Okay. So how do we stay strategic? I hope this is helpful. So does that mean making it more manageable, like smaller steps to action? Yes, absolutely. Because of the fact that when you're reflecting, you should be reflecting for a reason. There should be a purpose. There should be an ending, right? Now, the ending may be, like I said, understanding. Oh, I have better understanding of this situation, right? But that's still an ending. Once you get to that ending, then that's it. There's nothing more that you need to do. Or because some things may not require action, it may not require goal setting, it may not require steps. It may just be, okay, now I'm more aware. Now I have more understanding of how I feel in this particular situation. Next time I may do this or I may do that, but other than that, there really isn't much more to say, right? So having an ending is important. So now, when it comes to how do we stay strategic in our reflection, like I already kind of alluded to, be intentional, okay? Before reflecting, name the why. Why do I need to take the time to reflect on this thing, right? Am I reflecting to understand? Am I reflecting to close a chapter? Am I reflecting to notice a pattern? Am I reflecting after a conflict or after a disappointment or after feeling stuck? Am I reflecting because I need clarity or I'm unsure, right? So taking time to understand why, like really pinpointing that, will help you drive to a close at the end, right? So if reflection doesn't have a purpose, it loses direction, right? Like just like I was saying, sometimes it will lead to very strong, overwhelming emotions. And if we don't have a purpose, it's going to easily go that route, right? So having a purpose, being intentional, allows your reflection to have some sense of direction. Now, granted, can the reflection lead to multiple directions and have multiple responses and multiple things? Yes, of course. But starting with some intentionality will help you stay on course, okay? Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so that's number one. How do we stay strategic? Number two, stay in observation and with the facts. Stay in observation and with the facts. Describe what happened without judgment. What occurred, what you felt, what you noticed, what do you need? Okay? What occurred, what you felt, what you noticed, what do you need? I'll say that one more time. What occurred, what you felt, what you noticed, what do you need? Okay? Making sure to stay on facts and being more of an observer instead of going into judgments and self-criticism is how you can stay strategic in your reflection. When you go into judgment, that's when self-criticism happens, comparisons, reflecting on the past and what you did, and then beating yourself up about your mistakes and things of that matter. That's not what reflection is for. Reflection is for clarity and to solve problems versus you going on and criticizing yourself and wallowing in that self-doubt and self-pity and shame and guilt. That's not the route that we want to go. We want it to be strategic. We want it to be intentional. We want it to be purposeful. And the way that we do that is through staying in observation mode versus self-criticism mode. Okay? Because the self-criticism is why it then becomes overwhelming. And I think that was a question earlier, as far as like it just becomes become so overwhelmed to where you don't want to do it anymore. That's where that's coming from, because we're moving away from observing to judgment. Okay? So number two, stay in observation and with the facts. Lay out the facts. What occurred, what you felt, what you noticed, what do you need? Okay? Number three, close the reflection with intentionality, which we've said, right? Close the reflection with intentionality. We initiated this conversation with last week's session, but end with one of the two outcomes, integration and one next step that you can take, right? Reflection is complete when it's closed on purpose, okay? Sometimes reflection continues and continues and continues. And like I said, it falls into anxiety or stress, or it just turns into continued comparison. Well, now I'm comparing myself to other people and situations, and well, this happened to such and such this way, and why didn't happen to me this way? Like that's when it starts to go out off course. So close the reflection with intentionality, with integration, or one gentle next step or action step. Okay. Integration, what is that? Mindset shifts, right? New perspectives, a new sense of being or new sense of well-being. It could be the ability to allow yourself to do rest, or for you to do self-care, right? Sometimes the response to your reflection is self-care, right? Um, it could also be just different ways of making decisions. It could be, there's so many different ways that could come out of integration. But integration is more gentle, it's softer. There may not necessarily be any immediate actions that you need to take, but it's definitely something that you notice and that you can say it ends here, right? Um, I'm glad. Well, I'm glad. I hope this is helpful. I honestly hope this is helpful, Justin. Hi, Ushay. Thank you for coming in. But yeah, so that's really what that is. And having a walk like that or doing a hike is a nice way to do reflection. But then when you get to the end of your walk, find a way to end it out. Find a way to close it out. So that way you leave it at the walk, and you can go into your next thing when you get back to the house or when you get back to the car or whatever. Finding a way to close it out is important. So that's the integration. Of course, one gentle next step is when there's action steps that need to be taken. Do I need to set a boundary? Do I need to make a phone call? Do I need to do some goal setting in general? Do I need to, what is my next step? And it doesn't have to be anything drastic, but thinking about just the one next step is a way for you to move in a direction of movement, right? Or to get things done or to take action. But it's not so overwhelming where you're trying to make the full entire plan in one sitting, right? Okay, what is my next step now? Okay, so keep that in mind. So I hope this is helpful, y'all. We talked about how do I reflect in a way that actually supports our life, and then how do we stay strategic within the strategic reflection? How do we maintain it? How do we keep it going? Okay, so I'm going to leave you with some common reflection questions. They're going to be very short and sweet, and they're going to be more general, something that you can use for any situation. You can always change and alter them however you want to in order for it to meet the situation that you're reflecting on. And this is just a start. I know that there's probably thousands of journaling prompts that we can come up with that are going to be very specific to situations. But I wanted to make sure that I left you guys with some questions that you could at least start with, especially for quick reflection, right? Because there may be times where you're at work and something happens and you want to take the time to quick reflect, or you just get home and you just have like 5 or 10 minutes to sit down and take a quick break, or you want to reflect. This is something that you could use. So I hope that these questions are helpful. Feel free to write them down. And like I said, they're short and sweet, so it's not going to be too much writing, really. But number one is, what do I know and what do I not know? What do I know and what do I not know when it comes to a situation, argument, or a job or whatever? When you're thinking about reflection, what do I know and what do I don't know? The reason why this is the first question is because sometimes when we are at a heightened state of emotions, we aren't able to conceptualize what is actually happening, right? We have what we think that we have what we think what we know, but we haven't really put it all in one space and one piece of paper to kind of really say, okay, this is what I know about the situation. This is what I don't know, right? So that's question number one. Number two, what is in my control and what is not in my control? Okay? What is in my control and what is not in my control? All right? One thing, and I feel like I say this all the time with clients, right? All you can control is what is in your own control. Okay. Sometimes we spend so much time with relationships and things, or even just situations where we're trying to control things that we cannot control. So being able to conceptualize what you can control and what you cannot control can help you with your next step. Okay. So number one was, what do I know? What do I do not know? Number two, what is in control and what is not in control? Okay. Thank you, 93 Love. I don't know what I would do without you, my moderator. I appreciate you. So that was number two. Number three, what am I feeling? Right? What am I feeling in this moment? Name the emotion. Okay. If you don't know the emotion, there are plenty of feelings wheels. You can Google feelings wheel. There's not just 3 or 5 emotions, y'all. There's several. I want to say there's about 70 something emotions. So name the emotion. Name what you're feeling. Why is that important? Because once you're able to name a feeling, then you can do something about it, right? Then you can give yourself context about what you know and what you don't know. Then you can give yourself context about what you control, what you can control and what you can't control. All right? What am I feeling? Name what you're feeling. Number 4, what are my assumptions and what are the facts? Okay? What are my assumptions and what are the facts? I'll say that one more time. What are my assumptions and what are the facts? Sometimes when we are at a heightened emotional state, we act off assumptions, okay? And when we act off assumptions, you make a out of, okay? Y'all fill in the blanks. What are my assumptions and what are the facts? Okay? Sometimes we treat assumptions as facts. And because of that, we make decisions that are not they're based off of that one small perception versus the entire situation. Okay? So, what are my assumptions? What are the facts? Number 5, what is the lesson? What is this teaching me? Okay? What is the lesson? What is this teaching me? Okay? Out of every situation, there can be some form of lesson. You can learn something, right? Whether it be a real, like, okay, I need to do better, I need to make some changes, or it could be, now I know, right? Now I know who this person is, or now I know what this environment is, or now I know what this situation is. There's always something to learn in any given situation. So being able to pull the lesson or pull what it's teaching you makes the situation not in vain, right? It makes the situation like, okay, yeah, this sucks, but at least I know this now, or at least I learned this now. What does that do for you? That gives you a sense of closure. Sometimes we don't move on from situations because we're looking for closure. And when we don't get that closure from the other person or the environment or whatever, we are left just kind of sitting and thinking and ruminating about, okay, it could have been this, it could have been that, it could have been this. No, go to the lesson, learn the lesson, pull the lesson, and then from there, now you have closure, right? So you maybe in a relationship, it ended, you don't really have all of the answers. You're not getting the answers from that other person. So what are you supposed to do? Just sit and stew in that for the next 6 months because you're frustrated? No. Pull out the lessons. Okay, I learned that this person is this. I know next time I'm going to a relationship, I probably should ask more questions, or I should probably ask these questions. Like, pull the lesson, and then that will give you the closure that you need. Number 5 is the hardest. You learn a lot about yourself that is embarrassing. Yeah, and even if it is embarrassing, um, life is embarrassing. Like life, you're welcome, Jasmine. Life is embarrassing. You know what I mean? We go through life where there's so many embarrassing moments, and understanding that embarrassment is a common human experience. Everyone has gone through life and has been embarrassed at some point in time. And knowing and understanding that gives us a sense of compassion, right, for ourselves, but it also is a way for us to not beat ourselves up about that embarrassment. It's a common human experience to be embarrassed, and not to say that it doesn't feel bad, right? Not to say that it sucks, right? It sucks to be embarrassed. But in understanding that common experience allows you to show yourself compassion in that moment and say, okay, yeah, that was embarrassing, but that's something that feeling of embarrassment is going to come and go. I notice right now that I'm feeling that way. Eventually it's going to fall off of me, right? And there's many ways that you can do that, but the feeling of embarrassment, I feel like, is one of those emotions that goes under the radar because it's usually masked with other strong emotions. So you feel embarrassed, which then creates a feeling of hurt, which then can turn into sadness or anger, right? So it kind of gets dismissed to the point where it's like it's not even there, but it actually has a really in-depth uh, impact on how you're feeling and where all of the emotions are coming from. So it's good that you even notice that embarrassment is a big aspect for you, and finding ways to move past it, or even just allowing yourself to sit in it and allow it to come, allow it to be, and then to allow it to go, it would be important for you. I hope that's helpful. I hope that brings some insight. But if you have any other questions, let me know. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, what was the lesson and what is it teaching me? Number 6, what do I need? What is it that I need? This will lead you to action. Okay? What do I need? So you went through what you know, what you don't know. You went through what you can control, and what you cannot control. You went through what you're feeling. You went through what your assumptions are, what the facts are, the lesson and what it's teaching me. Now, what is it that I need? Now that I have all of these information, what is it that I need? Naming what you need will bring you to the next point, which is, does this require action? Okay? Is this urgent? Is this something that I have to take action on right now, or is it something that I can do later at a later time? If I was to take action right now, what's the small thing that I can do, right? Is it a physical change or action that I need to make? Or is it a mindset change that I need to change or make or take action on? Okay. So I hope that these common reflection questions are helpful. That was about 7. Well, there was like 2 questions on each line, but hey, who's counting? Okay. What do I know? What do I not know? What is in my control? What is not in my control? What am I feeling? What are my assumptions? What are the facts? What is the lesson? What is it teaching me? What do I need? Does this require action, physical or mindset change? Okay. Thank you. God bless you too. So final declaration for you to take away. There's a final declaration that you can take away, which is, my reflection is purposeful, supportive, and led by clarity. My reflection is purposeful, supportive, and led by clarity. One more time. My reflection is purposeful, supportive, and led by clarity. Okay? I hope this helped, y'all. This was a great part 1 and part 2 of strategic reflection. I hope this is getting your year started off to a great start. Again, if this is your first time, my name is Debbie. I'm a certified mindfulness coach and a counselor in training, interning. We do this live every Monday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Hold on, Justin. Awesome. Great. I'm glad that this was helpful. Make sure to like and subscribe. And make sure to also go to our website at haveninspired.com, and then you can sign up for the newsletter. I send out a newsletter every Wednesday. But yeah, this was great, y'all. I think I'm going to post. I'm not going to do another series. We'll probably just post on Saturday some topics that you guys can pick for when we talk on next week. Again, Monday at 8 p.m. So that will probably be out Saturday morning. You guys can vote on the poll on what we're going to talk about. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. We talked about the website. If you have any questions, you can email me at info@haveninspired.com. I never talk about my book, but the book is on Amazon. Not Self, Let Me Be Great. You can check that out, an inspirational workbook. And I do events, y'all. So I haven't been doing any too much one-on-one coaching because of my internship in college. I'm getting my master's in counseling and currently in my practicum. I got less than a year left, y'all. Let's go. Almost there. But I do events. So if you're looking for someone for a speaking engagement or events when it comes to mindfulness, talking about topics such as this for your employer, for any private events, women's events, all that stuff, let me know. You can email me at info@haveninspired.com. Thank you so much, y'all. Y'all have a great rest of your night, and I will see you all next Monday, same time. Bye-bye.